Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well. If you're watching this before 8:30, feel free to join us for the live lesson at 8:30. If you're watching this after 8:30, you missed it. But you could join in with the lesson on Monday, which will be at 9:20, or you're more than welcome to email me, and if we have a bunch of people who need a lesson later in the day, I'll set one up later in the day. So we're going to start a new chapter. So this is chapter 10. So if you look, your vocab should have posted this morning for chapter 10. So chapter 10 is what is a mole, or moles. And not mole like the cute little furry rodents that are, underground, and not mole like you might have in your face. Mole is the SI unit for a big number. So to look at that and figure out how to get to that number, we start with atomic mass. So atomic mass, may remember, is protons plus neutrons. So when we look at, for example, hydrogen, it has a mass of 1. We just get the periodic table. It has 1 proton. We look at oxygen. Oxygen has a mass of 16 because it has 8 protons and 8 neutrons. But if we want to really look at things we can use, because figure those are in atomic mass units, that's really, really small. I posted a video in the Google Doc today that we watched earlier in the year about how small an atom really is. So if you want, feel free to go back and watch that. You obviously don't have to. But an atomic mass unit is really small to make sense. So what a mole does is makes it more sustainable. So if you look at that number of the periodic table, so hydrogen, if we say 1 gram to make it corresponding to the 1 AMU, how many atoms do we need? Or oxygen, if we have 16 grams of oxygen compared to the 16 AMU, how many do we need? So we need 1 mole. So 1 mole is always equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd of anything. Okay? So that number I will always give you, but it helps to know what it is. You don't just see it in a test and say, what's that number for? So 6.2 times 10 to the 23rd. So that's always equal to 1 mole. Okay? Now if you remember, we can also write that as an equality. So I could say 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd is equal to 1 mole. Or 1 mole is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. You can flip it either way. And this is remember when we're talking about equality, so it's the same as saying 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. 1 dozen is equal to 12 of anything. 60 minutes are in 1 hour. Okay, those are all equalities. So those are all things that are equal, and you can flip it either way, because 12 inches equals 1 foot, but I can also flip that and say 1 foot is equal to 12 inches. So I can flip that whichever way I want. So to really use this, we're going to go back to dimensional analysis from chapter 3, which I know everyone is so excited about. And I told you guys it would come back, but having practiced it early in the year should make it easier for you now, because you've done it before. That's what I found. And bonus question, a baker's dozen is how much? Oh, it's 13, which half the culinary kids got wrong, and Chef G was not too happy. So if you knew that and you weren't culinary, good for you. Okay, so we're going to try some practice problems. So we're going to identify some things in the problem before we actually answer any questions with it. So my first question is 3.01 times 10 to the 23rd atoms of neon is how many moles? So when you see this exponent here with scientific notation, make sure you get out a calculator that can do the scientific notation. So I have mine here. It's the same one we use in class. You could use whichever one you want. You could use one on the internet or your phone. Just make sure you know how to type it in to get the right answer. If you're not sure, ask and I will try to help. Or if you Google the model number of your calculator, so this, for example, is a TI-30X2S, you can find the manual online. It'll tell you. It doesn't matter what brand you have. Even with a phone or if you do it online, obviously that's all on the internet. So that's pretty easy for you guys to see. Okay? So first thing I have to look is decide where I'm starting. What I start with, just like when we do dimensional analysis, whatever number and unit are in the question. The units are very, very important in this chapter because it tells you what to put where. So this first one, I'm going to say I start with 3.01 times 10 to the 23rd atoms of neon. Okay, that's where I'm starting. So I'm going to go ahead and write that right here. I'm going to try to color code the best I can. If I make any mistakes, forgive me, I'll go back and fix them as soon as I can figure out. With the color coding, not with the math. The math should be pretty straightforward. So I'm going to have 3.01 times 10 to the 23rd atoms of Ne. Okay? Now, always going to put that over 1 because for me, I like to balance it out. You obviously don't have to. And similarly in this chapter, so for the tests and quizzes for this chapter, you're going to need to show me work as part of your quiz. If you just give me an answer in a unit, you don't give me work, I'm going to give you no credit at all. So you need to be able to show me the work. Okay, so that's my first parentheses. So I have 3.01 times 10 to the 23rd atoms of neon is equal to 1. If I want to cancel that unit out, I don't know if you all remember, but hopefully you do from dimensional analysis, that means I need to drop it to the bottom of my next parenthesis. So I take that same unit. So I'm going to say atoms of neon. Okay? Now to figure out what's going there, I have to look at what the question's asking me. So it says, blah, 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 is how many moles? Okay? So I'm going to write moles here. And so I'll look and say, do we know conversion between moles and atoms? We do. We know that 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd of anything equals a mole. So you just have to make sure you line up the right number. The 1 for this part of the chapter always goes with the moles. I have 1 mole. Okay? And 1 mole is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms. Remember, if you go down, you divide. And the ones don't matter. So your mathematical process is going to be 3.01 times 10 to the 23rd divided by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Remember, if you're using the exponent, you need to use parentheses in your calculator. Your calculator will mess it up for you most likely, and there's nothing I can really do about that. I'm not going to give you credit for good intentions. You need to know how to use the calculator, okay? But once again, you could ask, and I will give you the best help I can. Our test or our quiz for these types of problems is going to be on Tuesday, just so you know. So we're going to practice today. We'll practice Monday. But if you have questions with the weekend, that really gives you 4 days to ask questions about how to use your calculator. So please make sure you do so. Of course, if you email me while you're checking your test, I will help you with that. But I'm answering other questions. I'm grading other things. I have a 2-year-old running around, so I may not answer your questions as quickly as you might want. Okay? So please try to figure that out either today for Friday or over the weekend. Okay? So I'm going to do 3.01 times 10 to the 23rd divided by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. And I'm going to do a little mental math because I set this one up. So at this one it's easy math. And remember, our units cancel out. So atoms of neon cancels out. Atoms of neon cancels out. My only left is moles. So when I divide, I'm going to get 0.5 moles. Remember the same things I've been doing all year. If you don't put the 0 in front, I'm taking a point off. If you go to more, I'll get 2 decimal points is great. If you give me 3, I'll live with it. If you give me more than 3 points after the decimal, I'm taking off a point. You've been forewarned, and at this point we are 3/4 of the way through the year, so hopefully you picked up on that, okay? So same thing, I just take my units. Okay, let's look at my next question. So I'm going to say 0.5 moles of sand is how many particles of sand, okay? So what they're giving me is 0.5 moles of sand. Okay, that's what I'm going to start with. 0.5 moles sand, because we do not need proper grammar here. We are not in English class, okay? If you want to use proper grammar, good for you. Okay, I'm going to put that over 1. Remember, that's just because I like this balanced. And when I say show work, if you, for the top one, just wrote on the paper, you're dividing this by this, that's perfectly fine. But if you're not understanding where to put stuff, really try this method because we always cancel out the unit. Okay, so I go to my second parenthesis. And so if I have moles of sand over here, I'm going to write moles of sand down here. Now, I know up here, like, I didn't write moles of any. I really should have. I'm not going to go crazy. If you give me the moles or atoms or molecules or particles like you're supposed to, that's fine. Because remember, atoms and molecules, we talked about this earlier in the year, are similar. Atom is singular, molecule is multiple, particles another way to put it. So if you write atoms, you're supposed to write molecules. If you write molecules, you're supposed to write atoms. I'm not going to get too caught up with it. Be careful with your abbreviations because the first 4 letters of molecule are mole. And the abbreviation for mole is MOL. So I'll tell you in a couple problems what I'm going to do for molecules for an abbreviation, but don't just go rogue and do your own because it may not be as easy to follow. Okay, sorry. So that's a little tangent, but just to help you guys out. So 0.5 moles of sand, I drop down moles of sand over here. So we say, what does the question ask us? It asks us, how many particles of sand. Okay, so up here I'm going to go particles of sand. Okay, we look and say, do we have a conversion between moles and, yes, moles and everything else. So 1 mole, the 1 always goes with the mole, 1 mole equals 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd particles of sand. Okay? So our moles of sand will cancel out. Okay? So we're going to do 0.5 times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Don't forget, you might need parentheses for that, depending on your calculator. Okay, you're going to do your math, and you're going to end up having 3.01 times 10 to 23rd particles of sand. Okay? Remember, you need to give me a unit. You need to, as you guys have seen all year, if you didn't give me units, I was taking off points. And make sure you check your number and make sure you round it appropriately. Okay? So that's pretty simple for that one. Okay, let's look at the next one. How many flecks of gold dust are there in 2 moles? So, grab my glue. So it's asking me how many flecks, but that's not what I'm starting with. What I'm starting with is whatever number and unit they give me. So we have 2 moles, okay? And we know it's gold. So I'm going to start with 2 moles, okay? I'm going to put that over 1. And just a little refresher too, the reason I'm using the parentheses is to show that I'm multiplying. Okay, if you go down, you divide, straight across, you multiply. Okay, so if I have moles up here, and I'll write AU for gold, I'm going to write moles of AU right down there. Okay, it's going to ask me how many flecks of gold dust. So I'm just going to say how many flecks. Okay, so I'm going to write just FL for flecks of gold. Okay, we do moles and anything else. So we say, what number always goes with mole? 1. So 1 mole is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd of anything. Okay? We look at our units. Moles of gold cancels out here and here. Okay, I do 2 times this. And any of you guys mental math magicians, it's great. If not, use a calculator. You can always pause the video if you need to check. Equals 1.2 times 10 to the 24th. We did flecks of AU. Okay? And yes, I know some of you guys are at home flexing right now because you think it's gym time. Haha, I know, not that funny. But you know, you do you. Okay, so we check and make sure your unit is there. And you can always check your unit too by how many how many flecks, how many moles? Oh, I have, or sorry, how many particles is particles? Okay, we're gonna flip around to the other board that I have just to do some more problems. So we have a little more space. So bear with me for 1 second. Okay, and there we go. So, 0.75 moles of TiCl4 is how many molecules? And these are practice problems. We get a little later in the chapter, I'm going to write titanium 4 chloride, so make sure you know how to do your naming. Okay? So, I start with whatever number and unit is given to me. 0.75 moles. So the abbreviation for moles is MOL. I know it's not much shorter. I didn't make it. That just, you can blame chemistry people. Okay, I was a bio major, not a chem nerd. So 0.75 moles, TiCl4. Okay? So I am going to put that over 1, put it in my parentheses. Okay, what do I do with this unit? I drop it. So I'm going to say something moles of TiCl4. Okay? What's it asking me? How many molecules? So what I'm going to allow you guys to abbreviate molecules to is just MC, because I think it's a lot easier than writing out molecules. So I'm going to write molecules, TiCl4. Oops, I want this color. Okay, think back to the number we had. 1 mole is always equal to what? 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd of anything. As I said, write that number down on the bottom of the paper, the worksheet you're on. It will be given to you on every test and quiz that you need it for. You will not need to memorize. You guys will end up memorizing it whether or not you want to. Okay? Please don't take that as a challenge to try not to. It helps you to memorize it. 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Okay? So I look. So moles of TiCl4 cancels out. So I'm going to do 0.75 times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. This one I cannot do in my head, at least not right now. Okay. So I'm going to get 4.52 times 10 to the 23rd molecules of TiCl4. Okay? There's that one. Okay, let's try. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 more. Okay? And I know it seems like a lot. It's a longer video. But hopefully by seeing these, the other thing you can do is, for one of the ones that's coming up, when I go over it and try one where I lay it out and freeze it, try one where you freeze it before I lay anything out, and then I explain it. You can see if you have the right answer and if you agree with what I have or not. So that's an easy tool you can use right now, almost like the boards we use in class, to see that. Okay? Okay, so 2.5 moles of sodium is how many atoms? So start with 2.5 moles, because that's the number and unit that's given to me. Okay? Moles of sodium. Okay, so if moles of sodium there, the same unit drops down. If you guys haven't picked that up yet, the same unit drops down. You're trying to cancel it out. It's like in math, if you have x over x, it cancels out to be 1 over 1. If you have x squared over x squared, it cancels out to be 1 over 1. We're doing the exact same thing. Okay, so we have moles of sodium, and the question is asking me how many atoms. And as I said, for the unit, I know I've been writing out molecules of this. If you just wrote atoms as your unit, that would be fine. So I'm going to say atoms. Okay, same thing as we've been doing. The only thing that changes is whether I'm putting moles on the top or the bottom, and atoms or molecules on the top or bottom. So I am saying 1 mole is equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms. Okay? Moles of sodium will cancel out. So what I'm left with, I'll be left with only atoms. So I'm going to do 2.5 times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, and I'm going to get 1.51 times 10 to the 24th atoms. Okay? As I said, maybe this next question, try writing it down, see how you do with it, and then start the video again and I'll show it. Okay, so I start with 1.2 times 10 to the 24th molecules. Of water. Okay, bring the same unit down. So I have molecules of H2O. The question asks me, how many moles? Okay, so moles goes up on the top. And I always know 1 mole equals 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Okay? Molecules cancels out. So I do this divided by this. And I can tell you that you're going to get, depending on how your calculator rounds or how you round, 1.99, or I'm just going to call it 2. So I'm going to call this 2 moles of H2O. Okay, next we're going to talk about 2 of my favorite things, pizza and tacos. Because as I said, it doesn't have to be atoms or molecules or particles or science terms. It would work with bicycles, with students, with teachers, with calculators, with anything. Just remember to look at your units. So if I have 1.81 times 10 to the 23rd pizzas. Okay, start there. 1.81 times 10 to the 23rd pizzas. And I hope you guys don't mind. I've changed which color goes with what. You guys can use all the same thing if you want. And if you look at the answer key that I'm putting up with the worksheet, I tried to color code so that moles was always, I think, blue. And I think I used purple for molecules or atoms, and I used red for my other color. You do not need to do that at home. There's a couple of you guys, and I'm not going to call you out by name now, but you already kind of do this stuff on your work. So if it helps you to have different colored pens or pencils out and do this, do that, okay? Because if you see I'm doing the colors and it really helps you, you should do that too. Okay. And sorry about all the tangents. Going stir crazy because the only person I had to teach at home is a 2-year-old, and it's obviously not the same as teaching you guys. I do miss you guys. I don't know if you miss school, but I miss school and I miss you guys. Okay, so I have pizzas. I bring pizzas down. Okay, it says how many moles? So I'm going to have moles of pizza. Okay? And just so you know, this is a ginormous number. This is 1.81, so remove the decimal point 21 places after that. I wish I had that many pizzas. Okay, 1 mole is always equal to 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Okay? Pizzas sadly cancels out. Okay? So I'm going to do 1.81 times 10 to the 23rd divided by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Remember, if you have 2 with exponents, use your parentheses around them. 1.81 times 10 to the 23rd divided by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd will give you 0.3 moles of pizza. Which doesn't sound very large. Remember, that's a lot of pizzas there. Okay, and next, another love of my life, outside of my family, is tacos. Hopefully some of you feel the same way, okay? And hopefully the quarantine and the virus all go away soon so we can get back to having Taco Tuesday whenever we want. Okay, 5.3 moles. Remember, you're looking for the number and unit. You're not worried about what it's asking yet. So I have 5.3 moles of tacos. Okay, the unit drops down. Moles of tacos. Okay, it asks me how many tacos. I can just write tacos. Okay, remember 1 mole of anything always equals 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Okay. Moles of tacos cancels out, so we're just going to multiply. Okay, remember, if you go down, you divide, stay up, multiply, or think if you have moles, you multiply. Okay, so I'm going to have 5.3 times 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd will give me 3.19. Oh, let me get the right color. 19 times 10 to the 24th tacos. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to join me for the lesson. Shoot me an email, leave me a comment on Google Classroom. Hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you have a great weekend. Do not overthink with this. That is people's biggest problem, is they're overthinking. Look at the question, write the number and unit they're giving you, drop the unit, convert to moles. So whether it's you're dropping your number with your exponent, your molecules, your atoms, your pizzas, whatever it may be, okay? If they're giving you moles, you drop moles and go to the other one, okay? That's all you're doing. Remember your parentheses in the calculator. check the answer key. If you have any questions, shoot me a line. Take care, guys. Sorry it's such a long video.